Well, hello everybody, and thank you for joining us today with Cruise Plus and Viking River Cruises for our online Viking River Cruise presentation. I want to thank you for taking the time because this is a new and developing area of the cruise market, and something that's very exciting and something that I think you'll all enjoy. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to take you on a little bit of an adventure. I'm going to talk a little bit about what river cruising is all about, and then I'm going to take you on a quick round-the-world tour with Viking. My name is Kim Lucy. I'm the Director of Business Development for Viking River Cruises, and I want to thank Cruise Plus for inviting me here today to share all this wonderful information with you and hopefully encourage you to put river cruising on your bucket list. So let's get started. I come from a long background in ocean cruising, and I know many of you probably have as well. I started out working for the Port of Vancouver when I was going through university, and then I went to work with a large ocean cruise company for close to 20 years. And I was very passionate about ocean cruising, and I still am, but about 6-7 years ago, one of my girlfriends introduced me to river cruising, and it's something I'd never heard of before. I traveled and lived in Europe and taken the train, driven cars, and toured all over the place, but I'd never really acknowledged or seen river cruises. And she convinced me to give it a try, so I took a Danube cruise, and I completely fell in love with it. And one of the things that I loved the most about it is I felt like I'd stepped back in time to what ocean cruising was when I first started in the business. And that's when ships were small. There were 600 to 900 passengers. When you sailed into the little ports of call in the Caribbean, you actually went right into the heart of places like St. Thomas and St. Martin, things you can't do now with the big ships. We also had, we could get on and off without having to go through the high security that we do nowadays, and you could bring your own wine and beer on, which you can't do anymore on many of the ships as well. So these are things that are all part of river cruising and take you back to that more relaxed time of cruising. What I love about it also is that the rivers bring you right into the heart of the destination. You can see in this photograph the little village of Passau, and our ship is sailing past it. And we dock right near where that beautiful church is. Where the beautiful church is. So when you step off, you step off right in the middle of the old city. Now these rivers have been the highways for centuries. This is the way that people have moved their goods. They visited their friends. They've transported communication up and down the river, and consequently the beautiful little villages and the cities of Europe have started out on these riverbanks, and they've moved outwards. So when you come in by river, you really do come into the old part of the city, and you step off on the little cafes, the little bistros, the little shops, the little all the sights that you want to see are right there at your fingertips. And that's one of the biggest differences, I think, right now between ocean cruising and river cruising, is that ships nowadays are so big that they're on the outskirts of the city in the big port facilities. They're highly secure. In many cases, you have to take a transfer just to get out of the port facility. And in many cases, you're quite a long ways out from where the actual town is that you want to visit. So with river cruising, you truly spend more time in your destination and less time getting there. But you still have that wonderful experience of unpacking once, which is what you're familiar with ocean ships. And I don't know if any of you have done coach travel, but if you have, you know what I'm talking about when I say coach traveling. You're up at 6 a.m., you have to get your luggage out, you have to grab your breakfast, and then you spend 6 to 8 hours on a bus looking at your destination through a big glass window. Well, imagine getting up in the morning, picking up your cappuccino and your croissant, going up on the outer deck, and just having this beautiful scenery all around you and not having to rush. That's one of the things that I love the most. So the fact that you don't have to pack and unpack every single day is such an advantage, and something you're familiar with if you're an ocean cruiser. Also, the other thing I loved about this is that the ships are small. There are 150 to 200 passengers. So you are going to meet your fellow passengers. You are going to meet the crew on board. And it's been a long time on the big ships since I've actually met crew. or even had a chance in many cases to meet fellow passengers, because they're so big now that people don't sit down and talk with other people to the same degree. Whereas on a river ship, you're all going to meet for cocktails in the evening before dinner. You're all going to be out on walking tours together, and it makes it really simple and easy to get to know your fellow passengers and also really build a nice relationship with the crew on board. It's also leisurely and casual, so if you're traveling with us, you don't need jackets and ties, gentlemen. You don't need a tuxedo. You don't need the fancy gowns, ladies, and you can leave that extra suitcase full of shoes at home. So it's a much more relaxed, casual experience on board, and I think that's what many of us are looking for. If you're people that count ports of call versus days at sea, then river cruising is for you, because we have lots and lots of stops, and we also stay overnight in many of the ports of call. We're not on the same time schedule that most ocean ships are, because we don't have those deadlines in leaving the port, and we also don't have those long distances to travel to get to the next port. So what you're looking at in that picture is very similar to what you're going to see as you're sailing down the river. You're going to see little medieval villages. You're going to see castles. You're going to see palaces. You're going to see people biking along the riverbanks. You're going to see families fishing. These are things that you're going to see, but it's 360 degrees wrapped around you as opposed to looking out at open seas. All of our staterooms are river views, so you're always going to have a big picture window or a large floor-to-ceiling French balcony like you see in this window, or even a full veranda on many of the ships that we're building nowadays. And the best part of this, if you get the least bit motion sick, is that rivers are flat. You never have the motion that you have on ocean sailing, and the only challenge we have with rivers, and you do have to be aware of this because it is one of the hazards of river cruising, is that the river levels do go up and down depending on the weather, depending on the heat, depending on the time of year. And so consequently, we do have lots of old stone bridges that we have to pass under. So sometimes if the water's high, we have to squeeze under those, and sometimes if the water's low, we can sometimes we can't pass. All we need is a hand's width of water to sail. So you can imagine we have quite a lot of leeway, but on occasion that does happen. So I'll let you know what we do at Viking to make that happen. A little bit about Viking, because many of you may or may not have sailed with us before. We've been around since 1996, and we started in Russia with 4 ships. Shortly after the wall came down, and the owner of our company, his wife and his daughter and his mother were took a cruise on a Russian waterways ship and fell in love with the whole experience. And they came back and said, "You know what, Dad? I think this is what we should do." He had been in the luxury ocean cruise business for many, many years, and had recently sold, and he had some money invested in Russia. He's from Norway, and he couldn't invest the money outside of Russia, so he did buy 4 ships, and from there we started Viking River Cruises. And from there we purchased Katy River Line, which was the largest of the European ocean river brands in Europe, and started to expand beyond that. So we've been in the business since 1996. We have won numerous awards for service and product. As you can see, some of the awards on the side. We have the largest fleet in the industry, and you may wonder why that's important, because you're really only picking 1 ship at a time. But it gives you more choice. With river ships being so small, with only 75 to 85 cabins, it means that they fill up very, very quickly. So this gives you the options to have more ships going on a very popular itinerary than many of our competitors, giving you more opportunity to sail on that particular itinerary. It also helps us when we do have those high and low water issues, like I mentioned before, because it means we don't have to put you on a diet to get the ship off the bottom of the river, and it means we don't have to feed you more to squeeze under those low bridges. It means that we can move you around that obstacle by transferring you from one identical ship and stateroom to another identical ship and stateroom, and just turn the ship around and keep going. So it means we have more options of keeping you on that river experience rather than having to transfer you to a coach and hotel experience. So that's one of the big advantages of the larger fleet. We do have priority docking space along the rivers too, and that may not seem important to you until you're actually cruising along the river, but river ships don't dock like ocean ships tip to tail. They actually dock side by side. So in busy ports of call, you may find as many as 5 ships dock side by side. So if you're the last ship in the line, you have to walk through the other 4 ships to reach the dock facility. And because Viking owns those docks, we are always the first one on the dock. So it means that you are going to be stepping off as our guests right onto the pier and not having to do the open house through the other vessels to get back and forth to your ships. Lots of great features on board, including as our staterooms, as I mentioned, have balconies or windows that open or full French windows. We have English-speaking staff. We cater to the North American market, so you're not going to find yourself on board our vessels with large groups of German passengers or large groups of Australian passengers where you feel a little bit excluded. With us, it's all North American-focused clients. We cater to the needs of the North American audience with English-speaking staff, English-speaking guides, and all of our staff on board they're all from the areas that we travel through. So you'll be able to ask them questions about what it's like to actually live in the areas that we're traveling through. We also send Viking staff out on all of our tours, and that's something unique in the river cruise industry as well. We all have step-on guides or guides that we meet when we get into the various ports of call who are specialists in the town that they live. But with Viking, we also send our own staff with you in case there's a medical emergency. It just adds a level of extra comfort and security, and it means that if there is something that goes wrong, the person with the emergency has our attention and the rest of the guests can go on with their tour. Great food and service. You can tell by the awards that we've won. We've been recognized over the years for service and food. We focus on a European menu. We do have comfort food on board though, so if you want steak, Caesar salad, chicken, or salmon, that's available every single night on the menu. But we do want to introduce you to the local specialties, and we do that through our European chefs and the menus that we offer. We also, river cruising is truly about destination. Unlike ocean ships that have become a destination in themselves, river cruises truly are about the destination. It's about touching and tasting and feeling the destination. It's about walking in the cobblestone streets. It's about sitting in the cafes and drinking the wine, tasting the beer, enjoying the cappuccinos, and really absorbing the language and the culture of the area that we travel to. So it's a much more immersive experience in the destination than you'll find with most ocean ships. The other thing I absolutely love about it is that it's virtually all-inclusive. You're not going to come home and get that surprise visa bill. You're going to find that your meals and accommodation are included, your shore tours are included, beer, wine, and soft drinks is included with lunch and with dinner. We include bottled water in the staterooms. We include internet in Europe and in Russia. And we have a 24-hour self-serve coffee, tea, and cappuccino bar. So there's very little extra that you need to plan for. Those things would be gratuities, which are not included but are option, suggested. So that's at your discretion. We do have optional tours in certain destinations. For example, in Russia, because people go to Russia for different reasons, so we have more choice for people because we spend 3.5 days in the ports of call of St. Petersburg and Moscow. So we include the highlights that you should see, but then we often give other guests other choices depending on what their interests are in that market. But for the most part, you will see everything you need to see with the excursions that we include. And then, so those are the main things. Plus, beverages outside the meal service are not included. We do guarantee our service. We have a 24-hour service guarantee. So if you're traveling with us, you get on board the ship, you find that the service is not what you expect, please let our staff know. We'll do everything we can to fix it, and if we can't, we will allow you to disembark, refund your money. You can disembark at the first available port of call, and we will refund your money. Here are some of the things that you will enjoy on board the ship. We do an early and late risers breakfast. We do include sparkling wine, so if you like a mimosa for breakfast, that's also included. We include sit down and late and light lunch options. So if you want to come in, have a quick dine and dash lunch with soup, salad, or sandwiches, you can do that. Or if you prefer to have a more leisurely lunch, sit down in the dining room and enjoy that. We have that as well. We include organic food, healthy choice. We can handle many of the dietary needs that people have, and we do even make our own jam and yogurt on board. So you can see the beautiful sort of cappuccino breakfast that we have there. We also include the coffee bar, as I mentioned, and there you can see it's a cappuccino maker with lots and lots of choices. We also have juice and iced tea and water there, so you can help yourself 24/7. We include coffee, tea, and soft drinks with lunch and with dinner. Sorry, that's a typo. And it's free pour, so they'll pour as much as you can enjoy. And then in the rooms, you're going to find all the amenities you would find in a lovely hotel: bathrobes, slippers, hair dryers, safes, as well as refrigerators. When I talked about immersive cultural experience, this is what you're going to explore when you're traveling with us. We include things like the Hermitage in St. Petersburg, old age castles along the Rhine. We do wine tasting in France, in Germany, and Austria. We take you to see some of the great artisans in the world. For example, the porcelain factory in Meissen, which creates the beautiful Dresden porcelain, or the Ming factory where they do the Ming vases in China. These are just some of the wonderful things that we see. We also take you to see the great sights of the world: the Forbidden City, the Great Wall, the Terracotta Warriors, the beautiful temples of Angkor Wat in Cambodia. And we do it all with a QuietBox audio headphone system. Now, many of you probably experienced, like I have, the what I call dueling guides, where you get into a situation with a tour and the guide is talking and you're trying to hear what they have to say. You want to take a picture and then you're missing what they have to say, and lots of times you've got multiple guides standing side by side in a church and all speaking at the same time, and it's really, really hard to hear. So what we do is we have a wireless system where you're connected to your guide by a wireless earpiece, and you can hear what they're saying. You never miss the comments. You can take a picture, look in a window, walk at your own speed, and you will still hear everything that the guide is saying. So again, it just adds that extra level of comfort to the experience. We do other things like hands-on demonstrations. We'll take you in the Black Forest to see how the cuckoo clocks are made. We will show you in Holland how the wooden shoes are carved. We bring a glass blower right on board the ship, and they'll show you how to make the beautiful little Christmas ornaments that are so famous from along the rivers of Germany. We do cooking classes, so you get a chance to see how the local cuisine is made. For example, the apple strudel. When I was on the Danube cruise, we got to do this, and it was so much fun. The chefs came out with all the makings of the apple strudel, the apples and the dough, and then invited guests to come up and help them make it. So it was interactive, it was fun, and then we got to taste the final results and go home with a fantastic recipe. So it was fun because we had an immersive experience in the destination. We got to, as I say, taste the destination, and we also got to go home with a great recipe as a souvenir. In China, we do things like Tai Chi. So in China, they don't have a lot of gyms, so people will do Tai Chi early in the morning in the parks and along the riverbanks. You'll see them often. So imagine yourself on the river. You've got the beautiful Wu Gorge all around you, and the mist is coming up, and the sun is coming up, and you're out on the deck with your Tai Chi master. Again, that's what I'm talking about, that immersive experience. And I don't know about how many of you like to do what I do, but I love to peek in people's houses when I'm traveling. I love to see how other people live. And I think there's many of us guilty of that. One of the things that we do is take you into people's homes. We have home visits arranged with host families in a variety of places, including Beijing and one of the old hutongs, and also in some of the small villages in Russia, as well as in St. Petersburg. So if you're curious about how people actually live, you'll have a chance to ask them questions, to enjoy snacks and tea with them, and to actually go inside their homes and see what it's really like to live there. I always like to show this map because many of us have cruised all around the outside of these these countries, whether it's in the Mediterranean or it's in the Baltic or it's along the cities of Southeast Asia. But look at all the options we have with rivers that sail right through the heart of the destination, right through the heart of Europe. You can actually go from the North Sea all the way down to the Black Sea. You travel through the Rhine River, up over the Main-Danube Canal system, which takes you up and over the Alps, and then all the way the length of the Danube, all the way to the Black Sea. Now we have cruises that do sections of this, or you can go the full length from Amsterdam up here, I don't know if you can see my cursor, but Amsterdam on the North Sea, all the way down to Bucharest, which is just short of the mouth of to the Black Sea. We also travel to France. We do northern and southern France. We do Ukraine. We do Russia. We travel to China. We do Egypt. And we also do Vietnam and Cambodia. So I'm going to take you on a little bit of a journey, and I hope that for those of you that have that book, 1,000 Places to See Before I Die, you'll see that many of these places are in that book. And those of you with a bucket list, I hope that I can encourage you to put some of these great destinations on your bucket list for the future. So let's get started in Europe. So this is our most popular destination. It takes you from Amsterdam all the way to Budapest, or vice versa. You can go in opposite directions. So the great thing about this is that you're going to see heritage windmills, you're going to see sophisticated cities, you're going to see medieval castles, you're going to taste wine, you're going to see little medieval villages, you're going to see 900-year-old abbeys, you're going to listen to music. You're going to see the sophisticated cities of Vienna and Budapest, the imperial capitals. So this gives you really an in-depth experience of what Europe truly is. 15 days, 5 countries. We include 13 guided tours. And if you're a UNESCO World Heritage Site collector, we're going to have 9 of those. We do include the cultural curriculum including the glass blowing. We bring on local entertainers as well, so you'll hear Bavarian folkloric music, you'll see Hungarian dancers, they listen to Hungarian music, and also some of the local Dutch folkloric entertainment. And we also have lecturers on board, so you'll have an experience to learn a little bit about the canal system that was built, started over 1,000 years ago, and includes 40 locks that go up and down over the continental divide. So it was only finished in 1995, so it took over 1,000 years to be built. Quite a remarkable feat in joining the entire length of Europe together between the North and the Black Sea. So let's start with Budapest. Here you can see how the Danube River dissects the city right in half. So when I talk about sailing right into the heart of the city, this is a very, very good example. Buda and Pest were 2 separate cities, and now they're joined together as Budapest. What you're looking at right now is the city of Pest, and on the left-hand side of the frame is the city of Buda. And Buda means hill in Hungarian, and up on the hill is the big, beautiful Buda Castle. On the previous slide, you might have seen the bridge and the big castle at the top. That was the Buda Castle. And our ship docks right by, I don't know if you can see my cursor here, but just on the left-hand side of the screen, not far from the bridge. And that is on the Pest side, which is close to all the little boutiques and restaurants and shopping, and the big fantastic market for souvenir shopping, and even just to explore the food market. And if you love to cook, you can actually go shopping with our chef there. On the opposite side is the Buda Castle, as I mentioned, and that's where many of our competitors dock. So it means you have to take a transfer, or you have to take a taxi to get to the other side where everything is happening. So the advantage with Viking is that we do have this priority docking space that is right on the Pest side, across from the Four Seasons Hotel, so you can imagine we're in a prime location. You'll arrive in the afternoon, you'll get a chance to relax and explore a little bit. If you want to walk along the riverbank, you can. If you want to go and have an ice cream sundae in one of the cafes nearby, you can certainly do that. That's one of the pastimes of the local Hungarians. And then the next day, we will do a walking tour and a walking coach tour combination. And with our tours, we break them up into different levels. So if you're a leisurely walker, you can go with a leisurely group. If you're a medium walker, you can go with a medium group. And if you are a more adventurous explorer, you can go with a guide that's going to take local transportation to get you to the sites that we're going to see. So there's lots of different options, although the content is very similar. You've got different ways to see it so that you can go at your own speed and enjoy the experience. The afternoon is free to go and explore a little bit more on your own, and there's lots to see. I would recommend, if you want to do some souvenir shopping, the paprika is a good buy. The embroidery here is fantastic. There's lots of great things to bring home if you're looking for little gifts for friends. One of the other highlights along the river is Cologne, fantastic city in Germany, and this one is in the Rhine area. It's famous for this beautiful cathedral, which is called the Dome. It's the largest Gothic cathedral in Europe, and it is magnificent inside. And around it is a big, beautiful square, and the little medieval town kind of spokes out from around the cathedral. So there's lots of little shops, little beer gardens and wine bars and sausage stands, all of the wonderful things to explore and see. Now this cathedral itself is magnificent. It's taken 1,000 years to build, and if you want a panoramic view of the city, you can climb up to the top of that steeple. It's 364 steps and 364 steps down. So it's a hike, but a good reason to wear off some calories if you want to eat some of the great food and pastry along this river. Our ship docks overnight, again very close to this river, so you can walk back to the city in the evening and enjoy some of the nightlife if you would like to. And it's also famous for a chocolate museum. This is the wine and chocolate area of Germany. It's also known for perfume. Eau de Cologne, or water of Cologne, and people believe that this is where perfume was invented. And you can go to the perfume museum in the Farina building here and also pick up and purchase the original fragrance called 4711. So really interesting city to explore with lots and lots of history and lots of fun things to do. We also visit the beautiful city of Vienna, which is my absolute favorite city in the world. This is a city where you feel like you've stepped back into another century. This is one of the entrances of the Habsburg Palace. Vienna is the capital of the Austro-Hungarian Empire. It was a shared capital with Budapest. But this was the main capital, and the city and the palace here was very grand and spans almost, I think, about 6 blocks. It was built on and built on and built on over several centuries and through various reigns of various emperors. So it's quite a unique building. It houses the stables for the Lipizan stallions, so if you're lucky you might see them training or in residence. They do tour during summer months, so sometimes you won't see them, but if you're going spring and fall, you may have that chance. Also within the walls of the palace are some amazing art galleries and museums, so if you're interested in exploring a little bit more on your own, you will have a chance to do that. We do a wonderful walking tour here, so you'll see the mansions along the Ringstrasse, which used to be the moat around the old city. You will see St. Stephen's Cathedral, and you'll walk through the beautiful old city with the beautiful old palaces. Great place for exploration. The tour is a morning tour. You can certainly come back to the ship for lunch if you would like. It's easy access. The ship is not docked right in the middle of the old city. It's just on the outskirts it's in the new city, but it's only 2 subway stops to the old city. So if you would like to come back or go have lunch in Vienna, in the old city, and then go back to the ship, it's very easy to do. I would recommend, if you have some time here, to go and just explore. The shopping is fantastic. The chocolate shops are amazing, and you must try one of the Viennese coffee houses. One of the most famous is Demmel's, and you can, it's just outside of the entrance, one of the entrances to the Habsburg Palace. They were the confectionery for the emperors. And the building itself is absolutely gorgeous. And when you go in, the displays of pastries and chocolates look like a piece of art. And if you go right to the back of the cafe, you will see a big plexiglass wall, and you can watch the pastry chefs making the pastries. So it's really a fun place to visit, even if you just want to go in and take a look, maybe buy some chocolates to bring home as a souvenir. But if you have time, by all means, stop and have one of the wonderful pastries and a Viennese coffee that comes with lots and lots of whipped cream. In the evening, we do have an optional tour. This city is infused with music. Mozart and Strauss and Beethoven all lived and composed in this city. So it's an amazing city for music. Wherever you go, you will hear fantastic classical music. So if you're interested in that, not everybody is, so that's why this is an optional tour, but we do have a concert in the evening. So we stay overnight, or we sail late in the evening around 12 to 2 o'clock in the morning. So you do have time to go and explore a bit in the evening if you would like. But the concert includes, it's about a 2.5-hour concert, including ballet and opera and music of Strauss and Mozart. There's a champagne reception at intermission, and it's in one of the old, smaller concert halls. It's absolutely, it's a delightful evening. And when you come back, the ship is waiting for you with goulash soup and more music, and you sit out under the stars, and you've got this beautiful city of Vienna all around you. If you prefer to go off and do something on your own, we have a concierge on board who can arrange for tickets or restaurant reservations or whatever you would like. They're there to help you with customizing your experience as well. We also visit the Rhine River. We're sailing obviously along it, but this stretch of the Rhine is called the Middle Rhine, and it is it's a World UNESCO Heritage Site, and the reason is because of all of these castles. There are 40 castles along this stretch of the Rhine. They're on both sides of the river and in the middle of the river. So a lot of people ask me, when do we sail? And we sail when the scenery is at its best. So there are times when we'll sail during the daylight hours, and there are times when we'll sail in the evening. Much of where we transfer or transit is during the evening. We have a lot of locks to transit, as I mentioned, 40 locks, and those are not very interesting. So we'll do a lot of those while you're sleeping. But we'll sail through these picturesque stretches of the river during the daylight hours, and our guides will talk about these castles as we pass by each one of them. They all have history and legends attached to them, so you can sit up on the deck, you can enjoy a glass of beer, a lovely glass of crisp German wine, and listen to the history of this amazing area. You can see the vineyards up on the hills, and so this is, I mentioned, the wine-growing area. And finally, this trip ends in Amsterdam, which is a fantastic city in itself. I do recommend a pre or post here, because this is a city that we just come and go from, and you don't get a lot of time here. So if you have the time, I would say stay a little bit longer. You've got these beautiful merchant houses and streets to explore. It's filled with bicycles and canals. You can do a canal tour. The wonderful museums of the Reich Museum, the Van Gogh Museum, Anne Frank House is here, where she wrote her diary and hid for 2 years during the Second World War. You can explore the Red Light District. There's just a lot to see. And the Heineken Museum, of course, if you're doing a beer and bratwurst tour along this river, it's a fantastic experience. From here, I'm going to fly you to St. Petersburg, and we're going to do a quick tour through Russia. This is one of our second most popular itineraries, where people have done a lot of Baltic cruises maybe and gone into St. Petersburg, had a little bit of a taste of what it has to offer, but didn't get the long stay to see some of the other things. So this is a wonderful way to see rural Russia and also experience these cities in a more in-depth fashion. St. Petersburg to Moscow, we spent 3.5 days in both cities. We cruised through the two largest lakes of Europe, and then down the Volga River. So you really do get an in-depth experience and get to see some of the picturesque rural areas of Russia. We don't stop in the big cities along the river. We stop in the little picturesque villages. 13 days, 11 guided tours. We visit 5 UNESCO World Heritage Sites. You will get to see the ballet or the opera. You will also get to see the Russian folkloric dance troupe. And you will also get to have some home visits here. So we'll teach you a little bit of Russian and enjoy. So let's start off in St. Petersburg. This is a wonderful city that was built in the 1700s by Peter the Great, and it was built over 3 years. He wanted to build a European city. He was enamored with Europe, and in fact had requested that all of the men in the kingdom shave their beards off so they looked more European. Anyway, he brought all of the artisans and artists to St. Petersburg to build this city for him, and it's built very much like Venice on a whole series of canals, so very picturesque and quite beautiful. But also you will see a combination in the city of the old palaces that are reminiscent of Paris, Versailles, Vienna, and you will see the modern Russian architecture. So again, it's a very much a city of contrast. It's a very sophisticated, modern city now. The changes since the 1990s when the wall came down are quite significant. You'll see people dressed in designer clothes, driving fancy cars, and it's one of the most expensive cities in all of Europe. What you're looking at right here is the Winter Palace, or the Hermitage, which is the largest art gallery in the world, with 6 million pieces of art housed in this gallery. You'll have a chance to see this. This is part of the tour. We spend 3 hours at the Hermitage. Not enough, but it's a start. We also visit Catherine's Palace just outside of St. Petersburg, which is famous for the Amber Room, which was lost or stolen or destroyed during the Second World War and has been rebuilt. You will also get a chance to do a city tour, and see a lot of the other sites, Basil's Cathedral, all the beautiful things that St. Petersburg has to offer. If you would like, in this city also, we do offer some optional tours. One of them is an opportunity to see a kommunalka, this is an optional tour to see what it's like to live in, what it was like to live in the communist era communal flats or apartments, where 6 families would share one apartment, and they would have communal cooking areas with each have their own stove and cooking cubby holes for food, and they would live in one room of that apartment. So if you're curious about how that looks, you can do that. If you're really interested in art and history, we do have a VIP Hermitage behind closed doors experience where it's a full-day tour. You get to go into the Hermitage early with a Hermitage scholar. You get to do a tour before all the crowds come in. And then you get to go and visit the off-site storage facility, which is 300,000 square feet and houses 75% of the exhibits that nobody else gets to see. This is a very small tour, 15 to 20 people, and it includes lunch, so it's a full-day tour and would replace the included Hermitage tour. But if you're interested, it's a fantastic in-depth experience with the Hermitage. We visit some of the rural areas. You can see these little villages that we'll be sailing past as we cruise along through the lakes and down the Volga River. We visit the island of Kiji, which is an outdoor museum where they've moved a lot of the old wooden structures from around Russia and reconstructed them here on this little island. It's a working museum, so there are artisans here. And these buildings have been built, many of them in the 11th century, and they are built out of large logs without a single nail. So even the church you see there that has 21 onion domes is built without a single nail. We visit the little golden ring cities of Uglitch and Yaroslavl. This is the little village of Uglitch. This is the little church that's in the village. It's a great place for shopping, by the way. Yaroslavl and Uglitch are great places for shopping, less expensive than the 2 big cities, and wonderful, wonderful bargains. You're going to find the nesting dolls, the Marushka dolls. You're also going to see the beautiful lacquer boxes and things that are famous from this area. This little church is famous because it was built as a tribute to Dmitri, the son of Ivan the Terrible, who was murdered here. Ivan the Terrible was being chased by his enemies and was eventually murdered. He was the last of the dynasty of Viking czars that were ruled for 700 years, and he had sent his family into hiding in Uglitch, and they were eventually found, and the last of the dynasty, or the last of the bloodline, was his son Dmitri, who was murdered here, and that ended that dynasty. So this church is actually quite beautiful inside, filled with icons. But here we also do a home visit as well, so you get a chance to visit with a local family. In small groups of about 15, and have lunch or snacks with them, and get to visit right inside their homes. So it's really a fun experience. We visit Moscow, which is famous, of course, for the Kremlin, for Red Square, the magnificent Russian Orthodox cathedrals that are within the walls of the Kremlin. You'll get a chance to ride on the subway, which is unique because it's one of the most beautiful subways in the world. It's almost an art gallery with crystal chandeliers, really absolutely gorgeous. And then also you'll get to see some of the other sites, as well as, again, we have optional tours here if you want to see the Cosmonaut Museum or some of the really amazing art galleries. The Trechov Gallery has one of the largest modern art collection in the world as well. So if you're an art enthusiast, you will thoroughly enjoy this itinerary. I'm going to fly you now to China, and we're going to stop off in Shanghai. This is an amazing experience for those who want something exotic but have not had, really don't want to tackle this on your own because of the size, because of the differences, and also the language. So one of the best ways to see it is with Viking. We look after you from start to finish. It's 12 days, 6 days land, 6 days on the river, and the guide will meet you right at the airport and look after you from start to finish in small groups of 15 to 25. So you will be with that one guide for the entire trip. So it's great because you really do build a relationship with him. You'll find that you can ask them a lot of questions about the country. They speak fluent English. It's a fantastic experience. So we'll start off in Shanghai, fly to Wuhan, board our ship for 6 days, disembark at Chongqing, and then go up to Xi'an where the Terracotta Warriors are, and on to Beijing. You can go in both directions. 12 guided tours. This one is virtually all-inclusive. The only things not included really are beverages outside the meal service when you're on the ship. It's a very active, and the tours run all day and in some cases into the evening. So lots and lots to do. So let's start off in Shanghai. Great city for shopping. If you're a shopper, I would recommend ending in Shanghai because it's a great place for doing a little bit of shopping. We do have some options too, so if you need to stay a little bit longer, you certainly can. At one time, and actually only about 20 years ago, what you're looking at right now is the Pudong district. It's the new area of Shanghai, and about 20 years ago, this was just marsh. There were no buildings. It's really changed in China over the last 20 years. You're looking at it from the Bund area, which was the international concession. Shanghai was one of the cities in China that were open for international trade, and so there were mostly port cities that were open, and the international traders set up their centers here, and did trade, silk trade in particular, silk and pearls and spices. This was the end of the Silk Road as well. You'll see Old Shanghai, which is fantastic, one of the old classical gardens that are 1,000 years old. You will see the fantastic Shanghai Museum. We visit an acrobatic show here, so you'll get a chance to see the amazing contortionists from China, and you'll get a little free time to go and explore a bit on your own. From Shanghai, we will board our ship and we'll start to sail up the Yangtze River to through the Three Gorges Dam, which is the largest dam in the world. We'll visit some of the tributaries like the lesser of Three Gorges, which is what you see here with my husband and I on a small boat. At one time, before the dam was flooded, this river was so shallow on this tributary that there were boatmen who would put people in small boats and they would drag them over the rocks in order to get up the gorge. Now you can go by small boat and sail pretty much all the way up. Up in the hills you'll see hanging coffins in old caves that date back 2,000 years and monkeys playing along the riverbanks. You will also visit the Wu Gorge and the very dramatic gorges of the Yangtze River Valley. We sponsor 3 schools along the river. We've actually helped to build them. We employ the teachers. We help to maintain them. This is our way to give back, and we do this also in Cambodia. We've built a school, and we've also built wells in the areas that where our school is to help the families in those areas. So when you go to the school, you'll get a chance to explore or spend time with these kids, and it's really delightful. They practice their English, you get to practice a little bit of your Mandarin, and it's a really delightful morning, but it also gives you insight into what rural China is like. These are poor areas, and the fact that we've been able to build a school here means that these children actually get to go to the school. It's a very poor area of China, and you'll see people still plowing their fields with water buffalo and hand plows. We visit Xi'an and the Terracotta Warriors, which is amazing. There are 8,000 terracotta warriors. Only 1,000 have been uncovered. There are 4 pavilions like this where they've done the archaeological work, and you can see them all lined up like battalions or platoons, or and when they were actually built as an army for the afterlife for Emperor Qin. They're 2,000 years old, and at one time they were fully colored. They had blue and red uniforms, flesh-colored faces, black hair, and every single face is different, and they're full size. There are actually full-size horses. You can see there are chariots with full-size chariots, full arsenal of weapons, and these were to protect him in the afterlife. They were built over a 30-year period, and when he died, they literally sealed the tomb. You can see the ruts along the kind of the middle of the screen there. That's where they put the wooden beams down. They covered it up with earth. These were not discovered until 1,000 years later, and actually in 1974, when a farmer was digging a well and came across some of the broken shards of these terracotta warriors, and they started the excavation. So remarkable, remarkable morning that you get to spend here with the terracotta warriors. We then end up in Beijing, which is an amazing city, huge city, but I'm delighted by it. I wasn't expecting to like it, but it was fantastic. The architecture is beautiful. And then, of course, you've got Tiananmen Square, which is one of the largest squares in the world, will actually hold up to 1 million people. You get to visit the Forbidden City, and if you cross under that picture you see there of Mao, through that gate of heavenly peace, you will enter into the Forbidden City, which is a city within a city. It is magnificent, and it takes you back in time. It's 999 rooms, the oldest wooden structure in China. And it takes us about 3 hours to walk through it, to see some of the pavilions and the private quarters of the original, of the last emperor. We visit the Great Wall, and we also visit the Summer Palace, the Sacred Way of the Ming Tombs. So there's lots and lots to see and do here in the beautiful city of Beijing. From there, I'm going to wrap up our tour in Vietnam and Cambodia, which is my new favorite destination. I traveled here about almost 3 years ago now, and absolutely fell in love with it. If you're a bit of an adventurous traveler and you want to go and explore places that are still not totally touched by American tourism yet, this is the place to go, and I would say go in the next 5 years, because it is going to change. As more and more people discover and come into it, it's going to be catering more and more to those North American tourists. Right now, when you go to Hanoi or to Saigon, when you go into the heart of the city, people still live and shop and work in the middle of the city. It's not, you're not going to find McDonald's, you're not going to find Starbucks, and you're not going to find it filled with restaurants and boutiques catering to the tourists. It still caters to real people who live there. So it's magnificent. Hanoi, you feel like you've stepped back into the 50s, and when you visit Saigon, it feels like the 70s. So they really are in development phase right now, but much of the infrastructure in both Cambodia and in Vietnam was built by the French. They were under colonial rule from the 1850s to the 1950s, and much of the reason was the resistance and the fight against the French that brought on the Vietnam War. So very interesting history here, but the history dates back thousands of years. It's not just about that little piece of history that we are familiar with because of the Vietnam War years, but it's about 1,000-year history. Hanoi itself is 1,000 years old, so it's beautiful. This is a similar tour to China. It's 7 days on land and 7 days on the river. We visit Hanoi, Siem Reap for 3 days. We visit along the river, 7 days along the river. We visit some of the beautiful the temples and the tombs. We visit the city of Phnom Penh. We visit, and then we spend time in Saigon. If you would like, you can go a little bit early, which I highly recommend, and visit Halong Bay, which is breathtakingly beautiful with the limestone promontories that reach out of the right out of the bay. Absolutely gorgeous. So let's take a quick look. This is our ship along the Mekong River. It looks kind of old and rattle-trapped, but it's not. It's a new ship. But this is the traditional Mekong River ship. It's built like this for air circulation because of the heat. You enter your stateroom from the outside, and outside your stateroom are wicker chairs so you can relax and drink your gin and tonic and enjoy the view in the fresh air. It also allows us to dock against the mud banks. As I mentioned, this is not highly developed, and particularly along the Mekong River, you're going to be docking against mud banks with just a gangplank going down. And a lot of the roads are still quite rudimentary. Some of them still dirt roads. So it is an adventure, but it's really an exciting adventure. This is downtown Hanoi in the Old Quarter. This is called the French Quarter or the Old Quarter. This is where all the kind of little merchants are. So it's a great place for shopping. You can see this lady in the center of the photograph. She's actually selling household goods, and she'll just set her baskets down and do her transactions right on the street or right on the street corner. So this is what I mean about living and working and shopping in the heart of the city. The people are here living in abundance. The other thing that's a great abundance are these motorcycles. There are not a lot of cars in Hanoi or in Saigon or throughout Vietnam and Cambodia. Everybody rides a motorcycle, and you'll see people stacked up on these motorcycles 5 deep. You'll see them carrying everything from live chickens to refrigerators. It's quite an interesting concept compared to what we're used to in Canada. So fantastic place to explore, very exotic, but so hospitable and just lovely. This is what you'll see, very similar scene throughout Vietnam and Cambodia, the beautiful market gardens and the rice paddies. But again, everything is manual. It's not highly developed. And this lady is actually watering with 2 watering cans, and she's filled these with a hand pump. So they don't have the sophisticated farm equipment that we're used to in North America. These are, as we go into Siem Reap is known for the temples of Angkor Wat, which are one of the 7 wonders of the world. And what you see on the right-hand side where the monks are part of the Bayon temple, it's a temple that has 100 faces. And they're the faces of the king that built this temple in the likeness of Buddha. So it's really spectacular. On the left-hand side of the page is a photograph of Ta Prohm, or the jungle temple, and this is the way they found the temples 100 years ago, completely engulfed in the fig trees. And if you're looking at that door, imagine a person standing about 1/3 of the way up that door. That's how big these are. They're amazing. So they've left this one as it was found. The others are going through archaeological restoration. So you'll really see the contrast here, but it is a fantastic 3 days that you spend here. Siem Reap is, again, Vietnam is even more sophisticated and developed than Cambodia. Cambodia is very, very poor by our standards. There are a lot of families you'll see between Siem Reap and the temples that are still living in small villages without running water. That's one of the things that Viking has been doing, is building wells in and around the villages where we're supporting a school to help people get fresh water. And when my husband and I were there, we also contributed to build a well for a family of 5 in a small village. And the cost to us was only $350. So if you can imagine, I don't think I get out of Costco for close to that. And when you think of the difference you can make by building a well that can support a 5 families within a village, that can change their lifestyle completely with just a pump with fresh water, it's quite remarkable. So really fantastic place to visit. And then we get to Saigon. This is the Palace of Reunification. This was the former capital of South Vietnam, so this was the house of government. And this is also where the Vietnam War armistice was signed. This is where the tank burst through the gates and put an end to the Vietnam War. The city itself has a real 70s vibe. You can go and have a drink at the top of the Caravel Hotel, which is where all the journalists used to have their briefings during the Vietnam War period, and also would meet to talk at the end of their day. So you can kind of step back in time here in this wonderful city. So that brings our tour to an end, but we do have lots of other places to explore, from the Danube, the Rhine, we do Eastern Europe, we do a lovely tour down the Elbe River, which takes you through Eastern Germany from Berlin to Prague. We visit France. We have 2 lovely itineraries, north and south, that can be combined for 15 days. We're starting to visit Portugal, which is a new destination for us as well. If you love great wine and port, this is a wonderful itinerary for you. If you've got Ukrainian heritage, you may want to explore the Dnieper River between Kiev and Odessa. And then, as I mentioned, in China, we have different lengths of tours. So if you want more time on the river, less time on the river, you want to visit the Panda Research Center in Chengdu, you can do that. These are all combinations that we can put together. And then we also have gone into Egypt, and I did this last year, and it was a fantastic experience. Right now, a little iffy just because things are a little rocky right now, but our tours are still running there. We're very careful about bringing our guests into any place that's unsafe. So I was there, and it's a great time in a way to go to Egypt because a lot of tourists are not traveling there, and it means when you go into the antiquity sites, you really can have a personal experience. It's not filled with masses of people. Let's take a quick look at our ships in Europe. These are the new ships in Europe. This is the new phase of Viking development. We have 6 ships that we've launched this year. We've got another 8 coming next year, and we've got more ships coming the following year. So we will be eventually trading out some of our older style ships, although they're still new. Many of them have only been built in the last 8 to 10 years. But this is catering more to our guests that are coming over from the ocean cruise experience. They're looking for verandas. They're looking for just a few of the amenities they're used to on ocean ships. So on these ships, these are also catering to the we're trying to reduce our carbon footprint. So these are hybrid engines with solar panels. We operate about 50% of the time on electricity, and so we do generate part of that through the solar panels on board. We have an indoor-outdoor deck you can see at the front on the middle deck, and that allows us to keep an observation area open as well as casual breakfast, lunch, and dinner, as well as a lounge facility when we have high water, and that upper deck sometimes has to be closed because we have to squeeze under those bridges. It means you can't sit on the top deck, but you can still access the outdoors on that middle deck. So let's take a quick look. It does have a library. We have an organic herb garden, wireless internet. We have a laundry service. We have elevators. So let's take a look at what it looks like inside. This is our lounge. Scandinavian, very contemporary in design, and you can see how narrow it is. These ships are narrow and long, so you can actually see the large floor-to-ceiling windows. You can see the beautiful scenery on both sides. Our Aquavit Terrace, this is the one I showed you, and the middle deck, and these walls can be rolled back, so they can be closed or open depending on the weather conditions, giving you areas for alfresco dining, as well as just amazing views if you want to enjoy a breakfast, light lunch, or even a grilled casual dinner here. These are our standard staterooms, are 205 square feet with a full veranda. We do have some of the smaller, we do have French balconies, which means they basically look the same except they don't have the outside veranda, but they have that large wall of windows. We also have and then we have some of the lower level staterooms as well, which have a high window that are down near the water line. So the majority of our staterooms are these verandas. We also have 2-room suites. Here you can see the difference between a French balcony and a full veranda. These staterooms have 2 rooms. They include a bedroom with a French balcony and a sitting room. Let's take a quick look. You can see the private bedroom and the sitting room area. We also have 2 Explorer Suites that are at the aft of the ship. So these are wraparound balconies with a sitting room, private sitting room, and a private bedroom. And the doors close around the bedroom, so you've got complete privacy. There's a curtain that pulls across your sitting room area. So if you want to entertain guests, it completely shuts off your bedroom, and you have a nice reception area and an outdoor balcony that you can sit right at the back of the ship and enjoy a lovely cocktail. Now, one thing about river cruising is that you can bring on your own liquor. So if you wanted to bring duty-free, or you want to pick up some fabulous wine along the river and taste it yourself, you can, and there's no corkage even to take it to the dining room. So that's another great thing. I just want to wrap up with some of our specials. As I mentioned, river cruises are very small. There are 150 to 200 people, 75 to 85 cabins, so they sell out very quickly. It's so important that you're planning ahead. So with this, you need to be looking at 2013 now. You need to be booking now for 2013. We will be opening 2014 in probably around the beginning of November, so some of you are planning further ahead in terms of your bucket list. But 2012, we have very little space left. It's really in the latter part of the season with the Christmas markets in late November or mid-November and December. But the majority of what we're doing now is for 2013, and we're close to 50% sold out already. So we offer 2-for-1 pricing. That is good through December right now, and then the prices will start to go up for 2013. For 2013, we also offer special air savings. So right now, we have between $750 and $850 per person off our brochure air. Our air includes transfers and taxes, so when you're getting a quote, it does include all of that. We're offering between $600 and $800 off per couple, depending on the destination in Europe. The air promo does change, so the terms and conditions of that air promo require full payment of the full cruise by September 30th. If you're just booking cruise only and you may be doing your own air or you've got points, you can negotiate a bit on the final payment deadline. With the Cruise Plus team can do that for you. But I also do recommend that you take a look at where the exchange rate is right now. Our dollar is high. All of our rates with Viking are in U.S. funds, so it's very important that you keep an eye on that because it can make a big difference. Last year, 2 points in the exchange rate made a difference. The dollar went from 1.02 to about 96 cents. That difference made a difference of between $1,000 and $1,500 on tours I saw last year between the people who paid in full when the dollar was high and those that took a gamble and waited till December to put their final payment in, and then they were caught. So you may want to take a look at that and decide whether the bank is paying you enough and the savings are worth it to put your money down up front. There's no risk. If you have to cancel next year, you can cancel up to 121 days or approximately 4 months prior to departure for just $100 per person, non-refundable administration fee. So you can decide what's the best option for you, but I'm finding that many of our guests are taking advantage of that high Canadian dollar and locking in their prices right now. We have some specials with Cruise Plus, and you may have received this by email, but here we've got some great itineraries for Europe, starting at Grand European 15 days that I talked about, starting from $4,000 per person, plus our air. Tulips and windmills if you want to explore Belgium and Holland and the beautiful flowers of the spring. These ones started around $2,300 per person. Again, the Grand Rivers of Europe. If you really want to see Europe, this is a 22-day itinerary that runs from Basel, Switzerland to Amsterdam, and Amsterdam down to Budapest. And it starts at about $5,600. So 22 days, that's really good value because if you price out a hotel in Europe, a rental car, and all the meals, it would cost you far more than that to do that particular trip. China is really good value. 12 days, starting at $3,200. And as I mentioned, this one was virtually all-inclusive. So other than the air, which runs about $1,000 from $1,000 to $1,200 from the Vancouver area, you've got a remarkable trip. Same for the Mekong, $3,300 for 14 to 15 days, and Russia from $4,000. So some great options there. If you talk with a Cruise Plus specialist, they'll be happy to help you. We have a couple of other ways to save. We have a referral program, so you can earn $100 per person for each referral, and your friends will get an additional $100 per person off for being referred by you. This is cumulative, so we actually bank it for you, so the more referrals, the more discounts you earn, and then you can apply them to the sailing that you're taking. If there are 5 couples traveling together, you earn a group discount as well. So talk with the Cruise Plus team and they'll be able to help you with that as well. And if you choose to pay in cash, we will give you back 3%. Basically, that's what it costs us to process your credit card, so we would rather pay you than the credit card company. So if you would like to pay by a U.S. bank draft or you have a U.S. bank account in a Canadian bank, you can just write a check to Viking and we will refund you, or we will give you back 3% of the cash value of your trip. So that is a great savings. It can add up between $300 and $500 for a trip. So there are lots of different ways for you to save and make this affordable. But what an amazing trip! What an amazing way to see the world. We have an exclusive offer through the end of September with Cruise Plus. We're offering a $50 shipboard credit. Now, as I mentioned, everything is virtually included, so this will help to pay for some of those beverages outside the meal service, or maybe if you want to take one of those optional tours I briefly talked about, this will contribute to that. But for the most part, it's a pretty all-inclusive experience. So $50 shipboard credit per stateroom if you're traveling and booking with Cruise Plus, and that's for Europe, Russia, or China. We do have some exceptions, and that would be Vietnam, Egypt, Portugal, or if you're traveling in a group. So just be aware of that, but that's good from September 10th to September 30th. So make sure that you're taking advantage of these. That also coincides with our early booking incentive and our air promo that ends on September 30th as well. So I really encourage you not to wait. We have if you want more information, I would really recommend call the Cruise Plus team. They are local, they are locally owned, and they're an award-winning agency. They're top producers with Viking. They're one of 30 offices throughout North America that are one of our Platinum Circle members, and they have specialists in-house that have traveled with Viking, so they'll be able to give you first-hand experience. They also work as a team, so they're not on commission, and so anybody that you call into is going to be able to help you, whether the person you're used to dealing with is there or not. They work as a team, so it's a really great, friendly experience. So please give them a call at 250-390-0220, or you can reach them via www.CruisePlus.ca. So thank you very much for joining us today. I hope that I've been able to add a little something to your bucket list. I hope that you will come and join us on one of our wonderful Viking cruises. And please get in touch with Cruise Plus to make your plans and make your dreams come true. Thank you so much for joining us today.